A wonderful good morning to everyone. Bitcoin at 70,600 US dollars. Isn't that great? The Fed is hawkish, the Bank of Japan is hawkish, everyone in the world is hawkish, and yet no one dares to even mention the word rate hikes. Yesterday, for the first time in a long while, I think the poll really got torn apart, at least when it came to the questions. The regular press conference was pretty dull, but when the questions started coming in, I think you could see that Powell seemed a bit more uncertain. Yeah, let's wait and see. That's the clear message. We don't know what will happen if the oil price stays high for a bit longer. Sure thing, bro. But in the end, we all know where this is heading. The longer the war goes on, the higher inflation will rise. And you can see that in the US, and you can also see it in Japan. And with that, welcome to a new crypto update video. Bitcoin and the stock markets have been completely underwater as a result. Well, you have to say it's still relatively okay for now. Not really underwater yet, but we are slowly but surely seeing the downward trend. The trading volume is still disastrous, central banks remain bearish, and infrastructure is being attacked. What wonderful prospects to kick off an altcoin season, right? That's what was being posted all over Twitter and everywhere else just 2 days ago. But well, that's another topic. Before we get started, as always, feel free to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and signal group as well. Just join in. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, you're welcome to join. You'll find the link for it for free down in the video description. As I said, you'll always be up to date there. If there's any news, you'll hear about it first in the group. And besides that, there's currently a cool event from WEEX since the VIP 1 pass didn't really work out as planned. So I talked to WEEX about it. And now, in the end, they're just giving away a VIP 2 pass for 1 month. You just have to register using the link below in the video description, complete KYC, make your first deposit, and then you'll receive bonus vouchers. So basically, there are several regular tasks here that you can complete to secure yourself a bunch of bonuses. For example, if you deposit 2,000 USDT into your WEEX account, then you have the opportunity, yes, to secure 300 USDT in bonus vouchers. So this event is really, really amazing. Just sign up with it. Anyone who doesn't have an account yet, or basically wants to create a new one and still needs to complete KYC, feel free to check it out. A better event probably won't come along anytime soon. So just check out the link in the video description below. It's valid for the next 28 days. So let's get started. Bitcoin at 70,600 US dollars. That's good if we take a quick look at the order book. And we see on the heat map significantly more liquidity below us. And otherwise, yeah, we're currently in a bit of a support zone, but it's not really strong. Let's move on to the news. Stocks light on brand search as Fed and Bank of Japan hold rates. In my opinion, the whole market is really cooked. We noticed it yesterday with Powell. Powell was very, very cautious in the way he spoke. Possibly that was the second to last speech. Possibly, if they can't agree on a new Fed chief, then this will continue for a while, as he confirmed yesterday. The problem right now is simply still the oil price. And as long as the oil price remains at this level and continues to do so, and what's even worse, which happened yesterday, after Israel attacked Iran's gas fields, Iran attacked LNG terminals in Qatar, which in turn covers 20 to 25% of the global LNG demand. You could put it that way. That's one way to put it. So at the moment, infrastructure is the biggest target being attacked. The Strait of Hormuz is closed, infrastructure is being attacked, the oil price is rising, and oil is no longer really flowing through. Sure, the oil reserves are there, but they're probably only going to last for another 1 to 3 weeks. And then things are really going to hit the fan. At the moment, if we focus on the oil price, where is it at? Yesterday it went up quite a bit again. Now it's back at around $96 per barrel. Yesterday evening, right after the speech by the poll and the attacks from Iran, it was over 100 again. That means liquidity is still flowing in there, and that won't change as long as the uncertainty remains this high. And all the central banks around the world are noticing this as well, because as I said, the Fed is holding steady for now. If we take a look at the Fed Watch tool for the first time, after we had a 1.1% chance on Tuesday when the live stream was on, now we're already at 4.1%. And this will probably intensify even more the longer the war goes on. Paul said, well, we don't know yet what we're going to do. Rate hikes aren't necessarily something we support. But if inflation keeps rising like this, producer prices exploded yesterday. So the producer prices yesterday, if we look at the data from yesterday, the producer prices were truly alarming. The core rate rose to 3.9%, 3.7% had been forecast. The PPI core rate was 0.5% for the month, 0.7% for the month. So that's catastrophic. And if inflation increases now on top of tariffs and war, and who knows what else is out there. Then, over the next weeks and months, these 4.1 will probably eventually turn into a complete rate high. And the economy absolutely cannot handle that. And Japan was also up last night. Bank of Japan says it will raise rates if the outlook stays on track after holding steady. They have a problem too, because where is the chart still in here? Or did they take it out? Right here. Japan's inflation expectations have risen among businesses. Meanwhile, the Bank of Japan is now also expecting 2.4% inflation. Over there, after having had a 2% target here for quite some time, they're now at about 2.5%. That's why they will soon have to raise interest rates here as well. And as I said, I still expect that to happen in April. And the ECB is also coming up. 2 rate hikes have been announced there. The markets are completely cooked unless something dramatic changes, and Bitcoin will simply follow sooner or later. That's my opinion on it. Nothing is going to change about that. We have concerns about private credit, we have concerns about inflation, and ultimately we have concerns about rate hikes. The whole market is full of worries. In an environment of possibly rising interest rates, which we will probably see globally soon, now is not the time to talk about a bull run or an altcoin season. Of course, the Fed isn't saying directly, yes, we want rate hikes, but they're hinting at it. There have already been some statements made that you should definitely take into account. Let's see how things develop. In any case, let's go back to Bitcoin. $70,600, the spot order book. There are good spot orders coming in. That's already a good sign. At least 30 to 40 million. That means, okay, we're getting a bit more volume again. The large orders are currently below us at around $69,000 down to $66,000. So the picture there is also currently unchanged as far as the 7-day heat map is concerned, looking at it. What still surprises me the most is down here at the 55K mark that there's still so much sitting there. Let's switch to the monthly time frame. How does it look there at the moment? Has anything changed there? We'll hide the smaller time frames again, and basically we still have this large cluster up here, but down below it's heating up more and more. The 65K, 60K, 55K, there's more and more accumulating down there. For me, it still remains the most likely scenario that we'll see this sooner or later, as the new situation will probably change very, very little in the coming days and weeks. Bitcoin, we now have some slight support here at the $70,000 mark. If this level doesn't hold, then we'd have another small lower low. And then it will probably head significantly downward again at first, simply confirming the trend. The markets, that is the stock markets, already crashed yesterday. And if we take a quick look at the dollar behaved exactly as we discussed the day before. After the Fed speech or following the Fed speech, the dollar will continue to pump. And when is it a good time to sell your stocks? That's right, above 100, because the dollar has regained some value. And we will probably continue to rise with the dollar heading toward 101, 102. That's my expectations. Let's just wait and see. The altcoins, Ethereum, yes, of course. In the end, Bitcoin follows. It's the same story with Solana. Nothing changed, friends. Nothing changed. You have to say at this point, the only thing that's doing well is Hyperliquid, which is benefiting from all the oil trading because the futures are also traded on weekends. Many exchanges are now following suit. Let's see how long this trend can continue here with Hyperliquid. Otherwise, all the other crypto stuff and so on, we'll take another look at that tonight in the live stream, so don't miss it at 7 p.m. I'll send you the link later in the Telegram group and on all socials. So feel free to tune in again tonight at 7 p.m. That was the first reminder for it. All right, let's move over to the Forex markets. So DXY is pumping. The euro against the US dollar is totally tanking right now. Euro, it's been losing so much value in the past few days. I still regret not taking the short up here because I didn't have an alert set. By now, that would have been a trade of just 4.6%. Maybe one of you out there was able to catch it. I messed it up. Otherwise, JPY is just about to reach, let's say, our zone to fill that small gap. Now that interest rates are staying steady for the time being, I think the next step will be Japan intervening. Japan has to intervene because, well, just look at the interest rates over there. I mean, the government bonds, they don't look good, just like the US government bonds, which have risen to 3.8%. Friends, that's usually a sign that we're about to get a rate hike. When the bond markets, the 2-year bond markets are pricing something like this in, then that's a sign, okay, rate hikes incoming, because those are the short-term outlooks. And the 30-year bonds are already back at 4.9. The 20-year bonds are almost as high as the 30-year ones. Only a rogue would think something bad about that. So no matter what we look at, the next step will first be, okay, how long is this mess going to last? There, still over there in Iran. If this continues, the price of oil will keep rising, then inflation will come, then in the end everything will get more expensive, then the rate hikes will come in the short term. Since we won't have an interest rate decision in the next 6 weeks, this topic will become interesting. With the Bank of Japan, will that bring us all the way down? What better time would there be than when the dollar is above 100 and you can ultimately sell your stocks then? That brings us to the next step already, namely the traditional markets. The DAX is tanking again, but honestly, it's actually an unimportant market at the moment. Dow Jones with a new lower low, so the markets, they're at the limit, I would say. First, we don't have any volume in there. Second, the hedge funds keep shorting more and more. Dow Jones now at an 8.8% discount. Nasdaq is still holding up too well. You can see it here. This is the range. At least pre-market, it's leaving that range a bit again. At least we're trying. So you could say S&P 500 is back to square one. So our range was tested again here. And yesterday there was a complete flash out because, well, Powell's speech just wasn't bullish. And again, by the way, volume only increases when we end up selling off. This is not a sustainable pump, really not, friends. This could still end really, really badly. I'll say it again, the volatility index, by the way, is shooting back up to 25. For me, 30 is the key level. When we hit 30, we can talk about the end of the correction. Then I believe there will be so much blood on the streets that we can say, okay, that's it. Now we'll get our relief rally first. Then I think this relief rally will actually come. But Alphabet is holding us up. We're seeing in individual stocks almost everywhere now that we could be moving in the B wave. Nvidia released huge news saying they expect $1 trillion in revenue, or rather in sales. And ultimately, they want to give something back to the investors. And the stock, nothing is happening. And that's when you notice something isn't right. Something is really off in this market. And we're seeing that more and more now. And as long as government bonds, this is not a bullish environment. Anyone who says we're going to the moon now and it's altcoin season and so on, the last few days have shown them otherwise. 2-year government bonds at 3.8% is more a sign that we're about to get a rate hike. And that's just not the future, but that's simply the truth. Let's wait and see. It's going to get very, very interesting. We'll take a look at everything today, tonight. Also tune into the live stream tonight at 7 p.m. Otherwise, as I said, feel free to check out the WEEX promotion. It will only be available once, just to reiterate. And I probably won't be able to negotiate it for you again. Feel free to check it out. You get the trial pass, and in the end, you can get up to a 30% futures bonus the more you deposit. I think that's a really, really cool promotion. So feel free to check it out. Otherwise, I'd say that's it from my side. We'll talk again tonight at 7 p.m. during the live stream. Thank you for watching, and I hope I was able to give you a good overview for today. Until then, bye-bye, and as always, stay crypto.